Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2013 Los Angeles Film Festival presented by Film Independent. My name is Stephanie Elaine. I'm the festival director. Thank you. And we are thrilled to present Spike Jonze, a brand of his own, Strikeout, a rubber band, and his comb.
Thank you guys for coming. I asked my good friend of mine here tonight. He's a great director and writer, and also a big inspiration for me. And he's an old friend of mine, and we've been doing this together. We've done a number of these for each other over the years, and it's always a lot more fun to do it with him. I want to invite David Russell.
I met you when you were starting to get into narrative film, and you hired me to help you work on a movie called Harold and the Purple Crayon, which is from a very famous children's book by Crockett Johnson. That was kind of his estate was managed by a writer named Maurice Sendak.
Yep.
And
Did you meet Maurice back then?
I don't think I did.
I don't think we did. Yeah, but Maurice was producing the film. That's how I got to know Maurice, and but that's also how I got to know David Russell, because he had just put out Flirting with Disaster, and we'd seen that when it came out here in LA. Yeah, that is funny. We always give each other notes on our scripts, and it's always hard because, like, I know from my point of view, like, I give you notes, and when I see the movie, I'm like, oh, no wonder he didn't take that note, because that's not what the movie was about. And you know what I mean? There's a little bit of...
You could have made me miserable for a month with that note. You know, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. I'm really wrong. Like that. Yes.
Yeah. Did I make you miserable with that note?
Sometimes.
Yeah, and that sucks. But it's also like, so David gives me notes, and some of them are the way he'd make the movie, but a lot of them push me to challenge it and question what I'm question. You know, he's just really good at asking questions about, like, why is that there?
As are you. I mean, I remember then I decided to write the role for you in Three Kings, and which the editors weren't happy about because they were editing Being John Malkovich, and you were running around the desert with George Clooney. And
Eric's laughing right
they're
now.
like, get your ass back here. We were both cutting next to each other, the lot in
Hollywood,
which was
Warner
Warner's
lot.
Hollywood then. Yeah, we were right. It was very fun to go from one editing room to the other. I remember you asked me many smart questions about that script. So you always ask very many difficult, challenging, annoying questions that are helpful. No, those are the helpful ones, right?
Before we went to Australia and shot the movie, we shot the whole movie here. This is where the wild things are, and we shot the whole movie with the voice actors on a soundstage here for like 2.5 weeks. So we had all of the actors, including the great James Gandolfini, who, rest in peace, passed away this week. And actually, I could tell a good story about James. About this voice shoot. So we basically shot the voice shoot before we shot the movie, and we shot the entire script with the 7 voice actors, and they had, we basically, to use the sound, to get the sound live of them all interacting, and also to videotape what they were doing, so we could use that to give the references for the guys in the suits. So the suits had the sort of the subtle humanistic quality that we were trying to get, and so we were on a soundstage. It was the whole soundstage was blocked out with duvetine and shag carpeting, and all the sets were made out of just foam cubes. And if we wanted a forest, we'd put the foam cubes in stacks as forest, or a cave, we'd make a little cave out of foam cubes. And they're all in their socks and sweatpants and all clothes that don't make any sound. They have headbands on, so it looks like some sort of 70s art piece or something, because it's like, we got whatever shag carpet we could get, and it was all mismatched, like this giant soundstage with mismatched shag carpeting and white foam cubes and all these actors in their socks and headbands. And the first day, we'd shot some stuff before James got there, and when he got there though. So everyone was sort of used to each other, and who'd rehearsed together, and then Jim showed up, and everyone didn't know what to expect, and he came in, and it was the kind of thing that you'd feel really ridiculous doing, because you'd be like, "Oh yeah," and he's throwing each other and yelling, and whatever this dialogue was, in the middle of all this, and so James just came in and tore the set apart. It's the first scene where they're all ripping down the huts. and he just started ripping him down and throwing Paul Dano across the set and screaming and yelling, and it just upped the electricity of the whole room. All the actors, all of us had been there sort of in this one vibe, and he just took it to this other level, and it was like, oh, that's what the movie is. It was like he showed us what the movie was because had that kind of potency. And from that on, for the next 2.5 weeks, everyone, it's sort of, he brought this electricity to the shoot, and he was amazing. And then the other amazing thing about him is because the way we make films is this sort of process. It keeps evolving as we get into post. We keep writing and rewriting, and especially with voiceover, you can keep doing that. And so every 2 months we'd call Jim again, and we say, "Hey Jim, are you around? We have some more pages, and we wrote some new scenes." And you're like, "Oh, yes, fine." And he just kept coming back, like for the two years we were in post, basically, he just kept coming back. And Eric reminded me the other day, there's a scene where he's got to rip down, he wants to rip down they built a fort, and he wants to rip down the fort because it's ruined, and he's sort of in this state, sort of having this tantrum breakdown, and it was a big, emotional scene, and we rewrote that probably 6 or 7 times and had to do it again and again. And so he came in one day, and he's like, "What are we doing today?" And he's like, "This shit again." And, and of course he would do it and he would give us every time he would just, we went back, and he would just go to this place where this man was crying and sobbing and screaming, and give it to us every time, because he couldn't do it any other way. He was always had to be honest, and if the only time he would ever get angry was he'd get angry at himself, it wasn't honest. And he was an amazing man that just wanted to be true.
What is the one with the bird head?
That's Douglas.
That's my favorite one in a way. Yeah, that was the one that
You mean just the looking
He was
way
just
he
very
looks?
funny. Every time he came up, I thought he was.
Yeah,
funny.
that was Chris Cooper played that. He was very, very proper, and yes, in the midst of all this
He
emotional
was
chaos,
shy, and he was shy. Right?
a little reserved. Yes, but let's do it the right way. Okay, and and also like Carol, who's Gandolfini's character, was so mercurial, and so Douglas was the friend of his who deals with his mercurial friend, and his friend's getting upset, and he's like, "Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I know that'll upset him." And okay, and which actually probably that rings a bell. Natalie, do you ever feel that way when you work with me, that you're trying to figure? She's nodding. She's Douglas, and I'm Carol in that equation.
Well, that film, it came to you have to be such a beast to make a movie. It's a marathon. I remember seeing all of you when you were working on it during that long period of time, and it is a marathon.
Thank you for not saying years, by the way.
I did deliberately do that, and so I just thought I was being helpful. So, but it is what it is. It takes what it takes, and you'll do whatever it takes. I learned from watching you, how you'll just drill down. You're like, we are going to make this thing be the best it can be, and we're not going to stop until it is the best it can be. But the amazing thing is when you see John Malkovich, where you were so meticulous, or you see Wild Things, or you see Adaptation, so many of your great films, all 3 of them are great. They look seamless and effortless, and that's an amazing thing. The people don't necessarily care about the craftsmanship that goes into it, but it takes a lot of effort to make it seem so fluent and effortless and narrative and enveloping and all those things.
Thanks, David. I think the idea. I think when we were editing, or not even editing, maybe before we started shooting, Being John Malkovich, I remember, thinking about the idea that I wanted to feel like the characters made the movie, and that the characters led us through the story, and I didn't want to feel the filmmaking, and I thought that would be like I don't know. I just wanted. I didn't want to feel like that the camera was placed by anyone other than just where the characters would have it, and I think it takes a long time to get to that, to where like you sand off all the edges and it doesn't feel like our clunky hands manipulating it. And I think especially Adaptation maybe was the hardest that way. That one we edited for 13 months. We locked picture 13 months and a couple more months to finish it. But that one, we probably had like 30 versions of that movie. And to feel like to have that you know, the way the script was so modular and had all these disparate but connected ideas and themes and characters, and to make it feel like it had sort of one emotional through line that took you through all these characters and ideas. And you know, it just took a long time, but it took, I mean, and many times I think we thought the movie was failing, or at least I did. I thought, like,
Well, that's what's inspiring to me about talking to you tonight, because it reminds me, I'm editing a movie now, and it reminds me to not give up hope, because when you're in the middle of it always, and we've just started, we're very hopeful, but I mean, but you're in the middle of it, and there always comes a bunch of points where you're like, oh my God, is this just going to suck? Is this not going to come together? And that's a terrible thing, and you have to have a deep heart. There was a very beautiful, you got to be very close to Maurice Sendak, the legendary children's book author, and I now have a new little 2-year-old, and I'm rereading all of his books. Tim the Nutshell Library that Carole King sang to, and In the Night Kitchen, you know, and you got very close to him, and unfortunately before he died, he got to see the beautiful realization of the cinema version of Where the Wild Things Are, which is so beautiful and came from your soul, and you put your own personal life into it. You brought a grown-up gravitas to those monsters that children feel. It's very beautiful. Everything he says is so beautiful and amazing.
Which is why I think really, as we were making the movie and writing with him, and I was just, every conversation I had with him was this kind of conversation where it's like, I have to remember that forever. And so I started bringing a camera, and me and Lance started documenting it to just start to capture this man, because I just was so in love with him. I wanted to capture him, to share him with everyone. And so as we were making Where the Wild Things Are, we kept going back to his house, and whenever we'd go beyond the, you know, whenever we could, we'd go back there. And during that, me and Eric were editing Where the Wild Things Are, and Jeff and I were editing with Lance this documentary, and it was every time we went, it was just fuel for us. It just gave us that much more sort of my vocabulary is better. Inspiration, but like where you know where you're going, straight ahead, like a
guidance,
resolve.
Vision, resolve.
Okay.
Dedication.
Keep going.
Motivation, persistence, perseverance. That's a good note. Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Thank you.